Good evening for some, good morning for others. Welcome to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing talk show. I'm Christian Karasevich, CEO and founder of socialchefs.com, and you're watching Social Chatter episode 141 with myself, Nick Rishwain, Phil Gerbershak, and our guest this week, Jessica Duell. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Phil. He's going to bring on Nick, and then we're going to bring on Jessica, and we're going to have a great show for you this week. How you doing this week, Phil?
Hey, Christian, what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm excited for this week's show. We've got a lot of new things. So we've got, Nick's back. We've got a great guest in Jessica. I think you know Jessica as well.
I do.
And we've got some great topics to discuss this week.
Total, man. Like 84 thumbs up, or at least 2 of mine. So I'm excited.
I'll tell you, I could feel the energy in the green room when we were there, just a minute ago talking, and kind of just going over everything. So let's go ahead and bring on Nick. We haven't had Nick back in a while. I think we were talking. It's been like 3 months. Nick, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well on my end. Can you hear me?
We got to wait for him to really join. There's Nick. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Phil. How are you? Christian, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
It has been, I don't think it's 3 months. I think it was 2 months. I think it was the end of March. And Phil, thanks for stepping up and taking my place and doing a great job while I was on hiatus. We'll just say while I was on hiatus. I was working on another project that was taking up a lot of time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you got big shoes, man, and we're rocking the orange. So I'm sitting in your seat, man.
I think you've filled them, Phil. So
I fill it up well.
Yeah.
By the way, this isn't a social media show; it's a comedy show. By the way,
but yes. Try the deal. We'll be here all weekend. Don't forget.
By the way, we got better coordinate. I also had an orange polo I could have worn. So
you could have, but you
didn't. That would have been awesome. Next time, Christian.
So who do we have this week on the show, Phil?
Oh my gosh, Jessica Duell. Jessica's awesome. She's from Boulder, Colorado. She's coming to us live with a dial-up connection, 56K, hot, but she says it's really slow in Boulder, but it's really hot because Jessica's freaking wicked smart. I mean, we are so fortunate that she's joining us this week. I've known Jess for a while now. She is a business advocate, a speaker, a consultant, a radio host, and the head of Red Direction. And she went to the University of Seattle, and now she comes to us, like I said, Boulder, Colorado, home of Mark and Mindy. Did you guys know that? Mark and Mindy in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, we could walk to their house from our house.
See, there you go. So who's your favorite, Mark or Mindy? You got to tell me.
I can't have a favorite. It's Mark and Mindy. It's like peanut butter and jelly. How do you choose? You can't choose.
All right, we'll let that
slide. Now they make those peanut butter cups with Reese's pieces right inside. I mean, come on.
Oh, see, I don't like that though. I'm telling you, that's cheating. Either eat peanut butter cups or eat the Reese's pieces. Unless you're ET, then you can do whatever you want.
I just like to smear the peanut butter right on top of the chocolate. Who needs anything fancier than that?
There you go. That's awesome. Well, we're so glad that you're here. So what's exciting and new in Jess Duell's world? What are you working on?
I'm working on a lot of different things. In fact, we're building a virtual women's leadership roundtable. We are also working on it's called Weave Values into Business Growth. And we just had our first live ever in-person conference right here in Boulder, Colorado. And we're going to have our second one in October. So that's a whole new ball game, taking this online amazing stuff like the Voice of Bold Business Radio, another one of my projects, and turning it into something where people come and sit in person.
Making the social online into the social offline. I love it. That's awesome. Pound for that. So I got to ask, and this is totally unscripted, do you know Deborah Jason?
Boulder, Colorado is not that small.
I'm just asking because Deborah's in Boulder. Deborah is awesome.
I would like to meet Deborah. We need to meet. I am always looking for other smart, wonderful business people in this area to get to know because, Phil, you're so far away. Christian and Nick, you're so far away. I need some help finding some more local people. We've only lived here 2.5 years, so I'm working on that networking still.
I'll help you. Deborah Jason and Melanie Adamich are my 2 peeps in Boulder, and you, of course. So 3 people, and then, I can send you some VHS tapes of Mork and Mindy. And
Love it.
You can think of me fun. What do you think?
Fantastic. I will look at the same Mork and Mindy, and they'll sit on my shelf with my books back here.
There you go. Awesome. Awesome. Well, cool. We're so jacked that you're here, Jess. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thanks for having me. This is a really neat time of day. I was just talking with Christian. I'm like, this is neat to be online for me at this time of day, having a conversation like I would normally have when it's Christian's time zone in Christian.
Yeah, totally. Right. And it's 10 o'clock my time. And, it's important that we have good guests like you because I get sleepy. I'm kind of old. So I'll fall asleep. If you're not good, I'm just telling you, Jess, if you see me not, you got to up your game. Because, sometimes, Christian and I, when we talk, I put myself to sleep. So I'm just saying, you got to.
So what's the cue? Is this the cue? That's how we.
No, you'll hear me. I snore. Yeah, I'm really loud, actually. I stuck in my microphone. You'll see the microphone take over like 90% of the screen. You'll be like, dude, what happened? Oh, Phil's snoring again. Stop it.
By the way, you have an orange microphone too?
I'm telling you.
Of course. Come on.
Yeah. What language can we use on this show? Whoops.
PG-13.
Right,
yeah.
PG-13. Well, wait, is it
right.
like Goonies PG-13 or is it like today's PG-13?
You're killing me, Smalls. I'm just saying, right? We'll see, Jess.
All right.
So we've got a great show for you this week, right, Phil? What are we gonna? Oh
my gosh! Holy balls! We got lots of great stuff. So we have Christian. You're kind of gonna run the show.
Yeah.
Bring the stuff up that pass around. So it's puff puff pass, and you're the first puffer, Christian. I'm just saying, man. So that's good. So yeah, but let's talk first about instant articles. That Facebook now is coming out with a tool to make your conversion of your regular articles into instant articles, which, holy crap, it is about frickin' time because people have been so confused by this. I know my clients are like, really, dude? I got to come up with another way to tell my story. You're killing me. So, Nick, what are you seeing on this, man? Are you a Facebook stories guy, or is this exciting to you?
So I'm not a Facebook stories guy. I do stories on Instagram and stories on Snapchat as well. Not a Facebook stories person. I'm also have not used instant articles yet. I don't plan to use instant articles in the future. And I was actually surprised when this became when this was one of the stories tonight. I thought instant articles was something that they were phasing out. I was unaware that they were increasing the ability for people to improve or build the article into this new tool, the open source desktop app, enabling publishers to generate instant articles from their existing mobile site. I didn't realize they were in the process of actually trying to improve this because for work I don't put any of our articles through instant articles and I don't currently plan to do that. We do a lot of boosting and advertising of our content through Facebook, but yeah, I thought when Christian and I had last discussed instant articles, it seemed like it was something that was on its way out. So this was surprising to me, but I also still do not plan to use it.
Huh. So even though they're going to come up with a WordPress plugin to make this super easy, you're not going to use it, Nick? That's interesting. How come, man? I got to hear it.
Because I think right now at this point, I don't know anybody who is using it, and I haven't heard anything about any benefits behind using it.
So Jess, what about you? Are you seeing this? Are you thinking, maybe this is a cheaper way to boost a post than to drive back to my own site?
I have no idea. I'll be completely honest. I tried to do as much homework on this particular topic as I could, and I have no opinions at this point. You know who on my team? It would be Eva, who would have that information, and she's somewhere between my time zone and Christian's time zone. So probably not online. I was actually wondering if she would be here tonight, and she's not. So we just have to go with the flow on that one.
That's cool. That's cool. Christian, what about you, brother? Are we going to do some social chefs snappy stuff on the Facebook Instant Articles or what?
So for everybody watching Instant Articles, it's basically, here's what they are. It's basically a way for you to build a Facebook optimized piece of content. So people that have, their blog, they have a blog that's mobile friendly. Facebook didn't, I guess they didn't like the fact that, some sites loaded quickly and then they actually worked well on mobile. Other ones, they might have a problem loading. That creates a poor experience for people coming from Facebook to your content. So what you're basically building is a Facebook version of an article. Now, I want to say, I kind of side with Nick in a way on some of this. I say, like that mobile, like a lot of people, this is an extra thing you have to do. I thought this was actually going to go away as well because Facebook kind of stopped like pushing this. But now, they're pushing it again, but they're coming out with an easier interface. They have a WordPress plugin, but this is going to be a point and click interface that Facebook's rolling out. So I think, you need to do it, but you need to have somebody on your team that's going to do it because I think, the small business, they're going to have a hard time. Like they're already having a hard time keeping up with their channels. This is going to make it more difficult, I think, because it's another thing you have to do when you publish any blog content. But the benefit is, and this is this is the side of things. If somebody, it's improving the Facebook experience. It's not sending you traffic necessarily because it's going to the Facebook side that you build. So
okay, that was going to be my question is what would the biggest benefit be? And the benefit, what I'm hearing, if I were to repeat, is it's great to have optimized content, yet the traffic stays on Facebook when typically when we're doing things on Facebook, we're driving traffic someplace else.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it stays on Facebook in a way because it cuts out all of the extra stuff, basically. You build an optimized like look for Facebook is what it basically is. Okay. It's kind of like Google. It's basically Facebook's version of Google AMP.
I was afraid that was the case, Christian. I was afraid that was the case. I think I remember that from previous episodes when we covered Instant Articles, and maybe that was what's behind my having no interest in doing this because my goal is still to drive people to our site.
Definitely. I think that's interesting, though. Hold on, guys. I think that's interesting that you say that because I don't care if I drive them, where I drive them. I want to convert them. And with Facebook, it already has their email address. So if it's one click at the bottom of the article to convert, to now get future articles via email, to now buy something, to to sign up for a trial, I think that removes a lot of the friction as opposed to Google Amplified pages, which Google, they're forcing us to use HTTPS, and now they're hiding traffic from us. Facebook, at least, will tell us how, what that conversion looks like. They're going to make it easier. I think the WordPress plugin, this is a 0.1 plugin from what I'm reading, which tells me, just like the first Google Amplified pages, I needed Glue, I needed Google Amp, I needed like 3 other plugins. But this is going to be, I think, I don't know, right? But I would guess Facebook is smart because if they keep them on platform, then you can double advertise and make me happy because I want a conversion. I don't give a crap where they convert. You convert on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, MySpace, Plurk. I don't care, right? I want you to convert, man.
I think for a lot of businesses that's the case. Whereas I'm in a service-based business. And our conversions are a little bit different than probably your standard conversion. Most of those who are coming to our site are not coming to make a purchase right then and there. They're coming to conduct more research. So I want them on our properties.
But don't you want them to get an ebook though? I mean, isn't that part of your conversion, Nick? Don't we? No. As a B2B guy, I'm a B2B guy too, right? So if I read Nick's great article about 5 ways to use Instant Articles, and then you're selling me software, and you have in between the buying the software and the 5 articles of 6 reasons why software as a service is going to save your business $20,000 a month, and sign up 1 click for that white paper. I mean, isn't that still good for you?
I don't do white papers. I sell people, not in the human trafficking kind of way. So let's make that really clear.
my last week, dude. You owe me $10. I'm just saying, man.
Yeah, I sell people and their knowledge. So I want them over on our site looking for the people that they need.
So it does depend a little bit on the strategy, and it depends on, in terms of what would be considered, I guess, redundant. See, I'm asking questions so I can learn about this with you guys right here. Because what I'm hearing is, I don't know where, like, for example, where Red Direction would fall without a lot more research in terms of, we've got very clear channels that we are using to drive traffic, have each level of our conversion, our sales funnel working as well as it can be. Yet, if we added this, it sounds like it would duplicate some of what we were doing. So we would have to do a little more research and find out, does that make sense? Because we don't conduct a lot of business through Facebook anyway. It's a mechanism to say, hello, here we are, and get them someplace else, more than it is to get them to stay here and talk to us, which is something I don't know if that's because of how we do it, or if it's because we haven't figured it out yet.
Maybe it's a Facebook Messenger bot at the bottom, right? Instead of leaving a comment, which is often, in my opinion, kind of useless, right? Instead, it's have a conversation with the author, talk to Jess about, this article in real time.
Cool. Okay.
And I think that could be, and then you pixelate that, because I think, Facebook is getting smarter about the fact that, when you drive to your website, if you have that pixel data, now you are in control as opposed to Facebook being in control. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why they're pushing us this way.
And by the way, I actually will say I love the idea. I definitely think that, Phil, you made a great point about building an optimized article for people, like putting in, for instance, an opt-in box. I think that makes a lot of sense. To Nick's point, makes a lot of sense as well, depending on what your business is. The strategy, you have to, and then to Jessica, you have to have a strategy for this. It seems like it's duplicating, your current efforts, but the big benefit is, that Facebook want to improve the experience. So, even though you may use Facebook, not necessarily to have conversations as much, people that do share your content and click off to it, that's where it can really help them, help it load faster, give them the better experience. So that it's not like, oh, hey, for instance, there's certain tools that I use, for example, and things don't always work. Like somebody's website doesn't work. And so I will and I had a conversation with the company and I said, hey, this website doesn't work. And what happens as a result? I don't use that person's website when sharing it into any of that content because it doesn't work. So I would say, that's kind of it seems like it's duplicate work, but it also comes down to having a sound strategy. And I think strategy is very, very, very key here.
Yeah. Hassan said strategery is the key. Totally agree, man. Good point, Hassan.
And I'm going to make one correction here because it was a correction that I had to make. It is Hassan, not Hassan. And I feel
I'm sorry, Hassan. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you, Nick. Now we pronounce it right. And I'm still the jackass in the white glasses for all those watching. So,
I only feel like I have to make it because I had to learn it, and I do want to call people by their appropriate name. So
awesome. Thanks, man.
No, my pleasure. What's our next tool? Because our next article, because we had several items and several Facebook items today, right?
Yeah, we got lots of Facebook stuff. Yeah, lots of Facebook this week. We had a choice of some Snapchat, but I believe firmly that in a year Snapchat's going to be dead. So I don't think that it's in our best interest to talk to people about strategery on Snapchat. So instead, why don't we move to a little bit of fun? Yeah.
Before we move to the next topic, the one thing I did see this week from Snapchat was that they did throw out a statement that said, "Hey, if Facebook wants to copy anything, they should copy our data policy." So leave it at that.
Snap.
Leaving it at that. What's the topic we're going to move to, Phil?
Hold on. So what do they think? They're Wendy's or something? I mean, come on now. They have an inferior product and they have less users, so they're going to try to be smart. Good luck, Snapchat. That's all I'm saying. So whatever. Okay, so what are we going to do, right? Let's move to politics, right? Shining a light on the ads with political content, which is fascinating. And this week I read, somebody said, well, Facebook, why don't you just stop all political content? And my answer to that is because it's $1 trillion business, Jack. So instead, they're going to have an archive for ads with political content so that it has to be clearly labeled, including, and I think this is important, paid for by. So when Christian is supporting me for the town janitor, that you know that it's Christian Karasevich doing that. So thank you, Christian, for that $12. I appreciate that. So what do we think, gang? So Jess, you want to take a shot at this? I mean, Boulder has got a lot of political stuff going on, and we don't want to get all political, but I mean, do you think this is important?
I do. And the less that, everything that we do, and there's new territory, it becomes the Wild West all over again. And so people think we're in Colorado and we were in the Wild West. And when we're talking about all this stuff online and the advertising and the lack of oversight's not necessarily the right word, but ground rules that we've all established, like you must establish in other media forms, makes a big difference, because then we can't be, how many people actually do their due diligence is the problem, right?
One out of a million, yep.
And we go with the flow. We're not asking those smart questions. We're not saying, really? So who is actually running this and what are their views? And having that front and center is a really important piece everywhere, because races are tight. The polarization is there, and anything that we can do to help our fellow Americans and ourselves be as smart as possible and not be swayed. I mean, it is amazing how many smart people send me stuff or tag me in things, or just think I would want to know because it's different than how I believe. And it turns out with 2 clicks in an internet search, you find out that it's fake, and we're not taking the time to do those 2 clicks. So I think it's anything we can do is important.
Now, is that because people are too busy, by the way, to take those 2 clicks? Is it because they're just, misinformed? What do you think?
You pronounce stupid wrong, Christian. People are too stupid and lazy. It's not that they're too busy. They're lazy and stupid.
I think they blame it on busy, and then they're lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing like reading the ingredients when you go to the store. If it says something, you believe in it, even though when you turn it over on the back, it's the same thing by a new name. So you're kind of, oh, I don't know what that is. Or, oh, great, it's not that thing that's been publicized that's bad, if you will.
And we don't take responsibility for our actions. Let's be also clear, right? We don't want it, right? So Christian fed me some ice cream, but it says fructose instead of sucralose. So therefore, it's not sugar. So I'm just going to eat 44 gallons of that. Get out of here! Take responsibility, losers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I want to first thank a few folks for tuning in. Bernard Nomberg's here. Morris Lilienthal's here. Hassan Sheikh was here. Joanne Kroll. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Christian, are there any others that I'm not seeing? I'm logged in as me, so I'm not seeing who we may see as followers of Social Chefs. So if there's anybody else that I need to shout out. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. Yeah, it's funny that this is a topic tonight, because the last project that I was on that kind of took me away from Social Chefs for some time was a political campaign. And Hassan and I were working on it together. It's how we got to know each other. And we had to do some of this, and Hassan can correct me here, but one or two, we only ran 1 or 2 Facebook ads as we were very early on in the process. But we had to, as a political campaign, had to add in the paid for by such and such for Senate. So we had to do that already as a requirement of the FEC. So this is surprising that Facebook is going above and beyond. It sounds like they're following FEC rules to do this. But I think it's good. I think even better, it's probably less to do with the actual campaigns that are taking place in the U.S. and those political ads that are paid for by what they're, they want to be able to see, is this an ad paid for by the Russians? That's really what it comes down to. That they've taken a lot of heat on this. I think this is good that they're working to improve. In the video, did anybody watch the video? Their what do they called it? Their movie on. They created a movie about political ads, but their movie was about 8 minutes talking about how they're essentially trying not to restrain free speech and what is hate speech or inciting violence and things like that versus kind of the stuff that's in the gray area and whether or not they should take an enforcement action on it or not. The last item on this that I thought was really good is they're going to have all of these election-related issues and ads. They're going to have those archived for up to 7 years, and anyone in the world can go to facebook.com/political content ads. And anybody visiting this archive can see and search ads with political or issue content that an advertiser has run in the U.S. So anybody who's run an ad in the U.S., you can check it on that archive, and I think that's important. I think that's a due diligence. So for those of us who are too lazy to actually check it on our own, they'll probably have this is where the media will go to check and see who's running what ads and report on it. I think that's what this is what it's really all about. That's my 2 cents off of my just the experience that I had recently.
That's good experience, man. That's really helpful, Nick. I think that's interesting. And you mentioned the video. Now I'm going to say something. Facebook has 500 million users, 748 views on that video. 748, not 1,000, not million, 748 views on that video, which tells me, to Hassan's point here, hyper information we're just overloaded. So Jess, what are you thinking here? I mean, do you see impact? I know that you're mostly a business person on this, but do you see that there's going to be crossover here where businesses are going to be even more afraid, much like Publix was here in Florida, to support a candidate?
I would say maybe. And I think it's still in a place where, whether it's a person, whether it's an organization, whether it's a business, it really comes down to the values. And do the values match the candidate? And if the values of a company or a person or an organization align well enough with a candidate, why would you be scared to promote that person? Because you've done your due diligence in that capacity. So if a business is scared, it sounds like there's tactics and antics that might be going on. And so maybe we need to check why we would be scared or bothered by that, if you will.
Interesting. Christian, you're overseas, buddy. What are you looking at from this? I mean, you hearing any hubbub over there?
So they're quite a bit different here, I guess. They throw up a lot of tents. There's a lot of there's a lot of signs and whatnot for elections. Elections are a pretty big thing here. You get a lot of news out, a lot of people rallying for that. I think overall, I think that Facebook needs to do this. I think that they need to be making these notes on political content just so people are informed. I still, it kind of goes back though. They still need a filter, I think, on Facebook that lets somebody, for instance, say, "Hey, I want to see political content or something," so people can, just go back to your ice cream reference. They can have as much as they want. They know what they're getting with that. This kind of reminds me of, like, you ever see the infomercial or the political ad, this ad was paid for by da 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 da. It seems like this is just the natural progression that it needs to be there, but it wasn't. So, it's almost like flipping that switch between, going from TV to online. So I think it just needs to happen.
I'm going to jump in here. So what about the piece where, for example, let's say I only listen to one news outlet. Well, that news outlet has an agenda. We have very little in this world anymore without agendas or slants or opinions that they're trying to impart. And so where does the responsibility then? I still think it has to come back to us as individuals, because everybody's going to have a slant. And so how do we get past that slant, even if we did all these things, and even the great work that's being done, this sad article space that only has 748 views that needs millions more to get a better understanding of what's going on. It's great that that's happening, but with all of the slant, how do you get through that? how do we tie that and take it up a notch for the people who are hyper informed and who are lazy and who are whatever they are and they don't go looking?
That's where I think that we need chatbots, honestly.
Okay.
I think we need chatbots. I'm just gonna,
So we have AI coming into this conversation, yeah?
You need some AI, you need some chatbots because, for example, it should be able to crawl through the information that I have on my profile, for example, and I should be able to get stuff sent to me in a way, in a reasonable way. If you kind of think about it, if it knows that this is the type of candidate that I'm interested in, send me that sort of stuff, send me that information. So it basically is getting pulled out for me. That's what I kind of think we need.
Is it also getting fact checked for you? Can we use AI to take away some of our inner laziness?
Oh, that's the next topic. That's such a great segue, Jess. So let's tee that back up, right? Let's tee that back up, Jess. Great question. Perfect segue there to the next topic that we have, which is facing facts. Facebook's fight against misinformation. First of all, gotta say again, less than 20,000 stinking views on this thing. So I didn't watch it. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? I watched it.
I have to correct myself. I was thinking about this video when we were talking about the last topic, and this is one that I watched, and this one's really interesting to me because they had a very, very specific clip of Zuckerberg testifying on Capitol Hill, where Dianne Feinstein asked him a question, and she said, essentially, are you going to fix it yourself or we're going to fix it for you? Which, as Christian knows, I've been pushing for quite some time that Facebook really wants to police themselves here because they don't want to be deemed a public utility and regulated by Congress. I think that is still the big fear of theirs, and certainly Dianne Feinstein is their senator where they're located in California, so they had to maybe give her a little shout out. But that is really what it comes down to in my mind, is they really don't want Congress regulating them, so we really need to work hard on regulating ourselves and doing a better job at this. So the last two items that you guys have here are really tied together. The political content ads and the archive of that and this facing facts. And the video is very, very good. It's certainly part of them trying to be a little bit more, credible. Transparent
too. Yeah.
And but you can also tell that it is a highly produced video, which is kind of funny at the same time, because it's still part of what the story that they need to tell.
Yeah, too much propaganda. So Jess, I cut you off there to segue here. So what are you thinking about this? What do you think? This whole fact checking thing. Who determines the facts? Is it something that you should be able to report, that I should be able to report, and then we alert Facebook, or do we alert our neighbors that, hey, 17 of your neighbors think the fact that, everybody says Phil Gerbishak is a handsome fella is BS? Is that what we're looking at, or what do you think?
Isn't that kind of what Wikipedia started out to be? Policing themselves around the information that was up. So I think we could look back at the lessons learned from that to also project forward onto a much larger scale and onto a different type of media, the way we consume media and information. And I don't know if there's a really good right answer. I know that as long as we're all making our own value-based decisions, we're at least on the right track.
But are we making them, or are we single-issue politicians, right? Are we? Because really, I think about this, right?
Yeah.
That my challenge is, I'm going to throw out the most volatile issues here. Think about abortion, education, and gun control.
Yep.
Somebody that typically the conservatives are for no gun control, they are anti-abortion, and they are not for public schools. Mm-hmm. Well, if we're single issue politics, I might say, well, my 14 kids, I want public schools because I can't afford for them to go to charter schools. But you know what? We need gun control. Well, holy crap, right? This is a challenge here. Or I might say, we don't need gun control because, we go out, my 14 kids go on squirrel hunt to hunt for meat for the family. So therefore, you saying that my 11-year-old little Johnny can't have a 22 pistol is a problem because that's taking food out of my mouth. And Publix here in Florida, they decided they're going to back a candidate that was more pro NRA. I'm going to guess they didn't do that because they want kids to die in schools. I mean, that would be idiotic, right? Nobody really does. But they backed this person, and people in Florida went off their rocker. They went out of their minds about how upset they were with Publix. And Publix finally had to issue a statement that said, we are no longer going to make any political contributions, which means they're not going to lobby for their own best interests as a grocer. That's crazy. That means Amazon's going to come in and swoop in and eat them for lunch because they have no such policy.
And I think that, you covered a heck of a lot there, Phil. The only thing I can think is that Facebook, to bring it back onto the Facebook issue, is the news literacy campaign here. So that they're trying, and this kind of goes back to what Jessica was saying about personal responsibility. They're going to try and provide you some areas. They say, building on previous work in this space, we're also releasing updated news literacy campaign that provides people with tips to spot false news and more information on the actions that we're taking. This will appear at the top of newsfeed and in print ads, starting in the U.S. and reaching other countries throughout the year. So they're trying to go back to that personal responsibility. We have this information for you, but here's some ideas that you may want to look for so that you're not also just buying into fake news. It's difficult.
They can only do so much. I mean, here's the thing. You take one sentence and it can be taken out of context. If you say it to 10 people, you're going to get 10 different reactions without the entire paragraph, if you will. Mm-hmm. And if you've got somebody who's decided that they've decided somebody has been labeled a certain way, pro-NRA or pro-life, whatever the case may be, everything else they say is totally ignored. So I'm not exactly sure how a Facebook campaign or AI can break through that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that comes down to, though, disclosure, because that if we've seen that chart that has where everybody is on the left and the right and the middle, I really think then just disclosing, hey, this is from CNN, which many believe is very left-leaning, or this is from Fox News, which again, many believe is very right-leaning. Understanding the source might help us determine not if it's not true or false, but whether or not they have some sort of bias that is present and who their readership is. Because as long as we're not paying for news, we're dependent on advertising, which means clickbait headlines that ignite your readers to click. Holy crap, oh my God, I gotta shoot it. When in reality, that's not the full truth. We all know that. That's just idiotic. I think as long as that's the case, we're gonna run into some challenges.
So how does all this stuff that we're working with and talking about that Facebook is taking on that can become even more involved in this advertising copy? Because we saw the problem with politics, yet politics is not the only one with the problem.
No, I don't know that there is an answer. I mean, that's the real issue is, we have a big divide between the educated and the uneducated, those that are learned and those that are unable to discern the truth for themselves. As a country boy from northern Wisconsin, I can tell you that, you get only so much of the news depending on where we are. I grew up with 5 channels. 2, 5, 11, 38, and 26.
Wait a second, and you grew up in the 90s, right? We got to put some context around that.
Oh, yeah, okay, right. So I was born in 73, right? I was born in 73. I graduated high school in 92. But I grew up, with 4 channels. But Jess, truthfully, though, there's still a big chasm of people who still don't have cable TV, who still don't have wireless internet. I mean, wired Wisconsin is a big deal. My dad still has a flip phone, still has rabbit ears on his TV.
Yeah, I hear you. And, okay, so I'm going to totally take a small tangent here that's very related, and that is with the lack of access in some places and the over ability to access in other places. I just have a quick question. Have you guys written down your personal values ever? Do you have like your personal values written down that you can hold up every day and say, these are my values, and so I've got to make sure everything I do, I am thinking about from that lens? And I bring this up because I've been learning through the work that we're doing at Red Direction that business values tend to just be surfacey, what people maybe want to hear. And it turns out it's because they think they have to do them. And when you look at the people behind the scenes that are making up this organization, they have this idea of what their values are, but they have never written them down and they have never defined them. And so you can have these things like integrity or performance or honesty mean different things to different people based off of life experience, which ties back to access of 5 channels or all of cable, for example. And so I think there's an element of that we might be able to work in, that if every single one of us wrote down our 3 values and just defined what they were and looked at them every day to refine that definition, we would be better off because we're already coming from a place of our own personal honesty, which means we can also, I think the more we do that, the more we can easily believe that everybody else is coming from a place of honesty also, even if we agree or disagree.
So I'm going to stop you there, Jessica, because I went to law school and I work in the legal industry, and I just came off my first political campaign, so I have no values. Okay, that is the background of their value.
I don't know. From that description, I could probably give you a couple. That would be there's some sort of integrity because you're taking the time to learn the nuances of things. Right. You're present because you're willing to explore what may or may not be the case and where all those loopholes are. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff right there.
Yeah, but I'll never admit the cool stuff because it doesn't make for a good joke.
I know, right? I get it.
So, guys, we're running low on time here. Christian, shall we move it into the? There's so much to talk about with this Facebook and the political ads and their transparency and all that. But should we move into the Instagram carousel?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. But one thing I want to say, I mean, you're right. The political or the fake news part. I mean, it's hard to really figure out a solution to that because as you guys are absolutely right in the fact that it's a tough nut to crack. I mean, it's not just politics either. I mean, there's tons of fake news in social media. There's tons. I can tell you, like you're talking about like clickbait headlines, Jessica, and I'm thinking like I've got like my radar is going off of all these people that I know that all they do is post clickbait headlines and they get the, number one social media person, number one content marketer. Like it's all clickbait though. It's content they don't even write themselves, for example. Like, how that's chances are you're just a content farm. You're just pushing out content. So, as you all mentioned, though, you have to educate yourself on what's out there and do your due diligence. I mean, don't believe everything that people tell you firsthand necessarily. So great points. Awesome. So let's quickly talk about Instagram video carousel ads, and then we'll get wrapped up on the show for the week. By the way, for everybody who's watching, don't forget you can, if we have articles topics we haven't got to tonight, but if you want to get those, just go to socialchefs.com/daily. You can sign up for our email list. We'll give you a link to the blog post recap, which will have the video, it'll have the written article, there'll be an Alexa flash briefing as well. So you'll be able to get that as well. But Instagram video carousel ads, that's a whole nother fun topic actually.
Bill, tell us what it's all about.
Yeah. So, it basically allows you to take that video and actually link off, which is really a big deal. It used to be 10,000 followers you needed. And I can tell you it's clearly everybody because my gosh, everybody that I follow on Instagram now, even my high school, gym teacher's cousin's nephew now has this dang thing. So they're advertising and trying to drive us to places on the web I never wanted to go, which is kind of scary to me. So, but I think it's got a lot of potential. I mean, it decreases the head start that a lot of these folks got where they could just advertise and drive people to their website to sign up to see more. I mean, it's really interesting. And my concern with this is now we get saturation. I mean, seriously, I follow, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 people on Instagram, most of which never posted. And now, oh my gosh, all they're doing is Instagram stories that link off to their homepage on their website. And I just want to die. So, yeah, kind of scary. Jess, are you going to use this for your folks?
You know, I can see benefit of it, but it falls into the same category as before. It's how do you want to use it and what is its purpose? And we would be evaluating what would be the easiest for us, what would be the easiest for the people who would be consuming the content as well.
So do you have, I mean, I got to say, are you B2B, B2C, Jess? Where's your sweet spot?
B2B.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would really be then people that are following likely your, the employees of the company that then drive back to an article. So maybe it's going to be a great employee advocacy tool then. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Cool. That's cool. So what about you, Nick? What do you think? What do you think for what you're doing, buddy?
For me, we still don't use Instagram all that much for business related. When you're selling a service, it's not. I don't think that it's the best. I think if individually, when I'm selling a service, I'm telling somebody about it. I think it's a great platform for people to get to know me personally. When I'm selling other people's knowledge, I think it's not necessarily the greatest platform for that, because I have this essentially extension of me, or thousands of extensions, I should say. But I think that this is for in the legal industry. I don't know that this is necessarily the best thing. I know how they will misuse it. If I start seeing it, I'll make sure to come back and tell you about it. They'll start doing you were in a car accident, this and that, and it's the same stuff that they do in blog posts that are so annoying to read. Or, it's the top 10 things to do after a car accident kind of thing. Now, there's reasons that they do that for SEO and that kind of thing. But I will tell you that I'll know that they will misuse it for those firms that have, big enough budgets to create a lot of 60-second pieces of content. They may do this because, it's just like Facebook. Instagram's a hard one to ignore for a law firm because there are so many users over there. So if you can really create compelling content, you can get a hold of people when they are in need of legal services. Wow,
good stuff. I expect though we will see the 10 tips with a picture and driving traffic, and I also think we're going to see some on your lawyers friends. We're going to see some crazy videos that are like stop motion where it's like they have it in a car where it looks like it's driving and it's almost going to crash, and then how to get around that, which, if I see any of those, they're going to sue themselves, which maybe that's a good thing, Nick. I don't know, man.
I'm afraid that it'll become just another commercial. I'm afraid, that they'll take whatever they do on TV and think that they can cut and paste over into a 60-second Instagram or a set of carousel ads. And I hope that they do something a little bit more creative, but we'll see. We'll wait and see on that.
I will say, I think overall, these can be very useful for B2B, B2C. It's about for carousel ads, basically, Nick hinted on some of these a couple minutes ago. There's 60 seconds, 5 elements. You can have video and you can have photos in there. I think that by adding that type of engaging element, I think that it will, it can help you stand out on Instagram. It's about, it's about storytelling. You have 5 items to show somebody in 60 seconds. I think that, if you hit the pain points, for instance, I think that it could be useful. But, as Nick mentioned, you also have to be very careful about, how close you trend to that line. You don't want to oversaturate the market with this, unfortunately. So, I think that's key. But I think
it's a virtue, and boy, is it underestimated and underused.
Do any attorneys have any subtlety, Nick?
Well,
any attorneys
It's probably one of those value things that Jessica talked about earlier. I've never heard of.
None.
Nick can spell it, but he can't really define it for your turn. Thanks, Nick. Awesome. Christian, you were saying, buddy, go.
I was going to say, what to say? So with the carousel ads, I mean, I think that they're very useful. I think though, you just have to be very just mindful about what you're putting out there. And don't try to, just be honest with people. I mean, really, if you've got an event, for instance, going on, hype your event, put your photo, show people like that are happy at the event, show things that are going on at the event. Like if you do something different at your event, that's, not the same as all the other events and conferences that go on, where people go sit in a room, listen to PowerPoint somebody pulled from a blog, like do something different. But I think that they can be very useful. I'd say experiment with them. It comes down to having a sound strategy. Again, everything you hear us talk about this all night, like strategy. You have to have a strategy for everything you're doing to be able to get something out there. But experiment, look at other brands, see what other, follow some of your favorite brands, for instance, if you're a business, follow some of the other bigger brands, see what they're doing. I mean, carousel ads are very easy to create. You do them in Facebook Ads Manager, you push them to Instagram. So, you'll have the option there to do a carousel ad option. So, that's what I would say is, experiment and look at what others are doing and pick pieces here and there that you think will work.
So should we set up burner accounts like Brian Colangelo did with the Philadelphia 76ers, or should we really use our business account, Christian? I'm just curious. What do you recommend?
That is going to.
My burner accounts are following you. I'm just telling you,
man. That's a very touchy subject going on right now. Not that that's timing either, but I would say no. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean definitely. Use your real accounts. I mean, follow the right accounts. Be active on your channel. I mean, everything is a learning process, right? I mean, so you have to do things. You have to use your real accounts. I mean, people are gonna if you make a mistake, big deal. You make a mistake, you can always fix it. You can always improve on something. So just keep that in mind and just keep moving forward.
Awesome advice, buddy. Awesome advice. So now it's tool time, folks. Tool time. We're going to have a graphic coming up for this soon, but we have two awesome tools that we're going to talk about this week. The first one is one that I think we'll have a shorter talk about, and the second one is going to be longer, and that is let's go to Obscura 2 as our first tool, which is a really cool camera app. They say that the best camera is the one that you have with you, and Obscura 2 has got some gorgeous stuff to make your pictures really good. It's $4.99. Which is a challenge for some people, right? We all like free apps, but come on. If you take a lot of pictures with your phone, and I've got one of my clients, he's got an old iPhone 6. I'm like, dude, come on, live in the now, man. 2004 left. Get a new phone. So I would say, hey, get Obscura 2. I don't know. Jess, what do you think? Have you played with it? Have you looked at it a little bit?
I have not. I just snap photos with my camera, and I'm glad that it's better than it was 2 years ago.
So your iPhone 3 is taking good pictures, or what do you got?
Right. You know what? I have whatever this one is, and you're here. It's. I think it's one. It's like 1 or 2 ago.
All right.
So it's a newer iPhone. It's not a 6. It's not a 7. It might be an 8.
Okay. All right.
Can you tell? I use it to check my Facebook Messenger and email and text a lot.
All right.
And a few Instagrams now and again.
All right. That's fair. So, Nick, what about you, man? Do you have an iPhone or something inferior?
I have an iPhone. I do.
Right.
But I take pretty standard pictures. I don't take a ton of them for not certainly for work related. So whatever the phone has, I probably already have. Or whatever the phone's capable of, it's probably all I need. So I'm not sure that I'll need an additional app on top of that. So tell us what it does, because I'm not sure that it does. What does it do that I'm not getting here?
Well, the big thing, right, is it's gonna have a little zoom. It's gonna have some filters. It's gonna soften some edges. It's gonna focus differently, right? I mean, any camera app is gonna have stuff like that. I mean, and the question is, first of all, strategy. What the heck are you using this for? If you're just snapping pictures of your cat and your food, you probably don't need it. Let's just be honest, right? But if you do take a lot of pictures and you're out in the field a lot and you take those, if you're taking pictures of stuff and that's part of your strategy, I mean, heck, this for $5, to sharpen up your thing, especially, and I think this is important, don't pay for every stinking camera app. Invest in one and then learn how to use it. So, Christian, did you spend $5 this week and play with Obscura too at all?
I did, yeah. And I would say, here's the thing: it's adding the DSLR capabilities. Like it's adding. So here's the thing: DSLR is it's a very, it's a much better camera than a point and shoot, your little pocket camera, for example. And it gives you more control over your photos. It's going to let you, for instance, capture things in RAW. So RAW basically is going to give you higher depth, higher clarity on your photos. It's going to give you so better quality. You also get obviously like live photo, which is great. Most iPhones, they have that. The other feature it's going to actually let you do is it's got a depth feature. So for example, if you have the iPhone, was it the 8 Plus, the ones with the dual camera, those have a feature where they'll let you basically blur out the background. It's called a bokeh effect. So they'll blur out the background. You can create some really great photos and that sort of thing. But if you don't and you want to take those photos, this app has that functionality to let you apply portrait mode, basically is what they call it, to it. So that's the thing, that's there. You also obviously, you do get your filters. You get some flash control, which is nice. You get some shutter time, your grids. But the key thing is, if you want, basically, it comes down to if you take a lot of photos, this app will give you way, way, way more control over taking a photo versus, using the standard app that's on your device, which it can do. Here's the thing. I use 2 different camera apps. In this case, now 3. I use the regular camera app for certain things because, hey, I want to take a portrait and I want to use portrait mode, and my phone had, it had the camera capabilities. But I couldn't use another app up until today to be able to do that. So that's actually something that's very useful for you. So if you take a lot of photos for your business, very good app to have for $5. It was version 1 was an app that was very highly regarded. Version 2 just improves things.
Awesome. Well, it's good that we have a wealthy member of the team to download all these apps. So thank you, Christian, for that. Let's move to a free app because I'm cheap. Let's move to Discoverly, one that we can all afford. And one of my favorite apps as someone who teaches salespeople how to use social media and email and video to do this. So for those of you who don't know what Discoverly does, it's a Chrome plugin that adds another sidebar to your Gmail, Google Apps, now G Suite's inbox to help you uncover missing information that you don't have. And it's free. Now, my challenge with this is that LinkedIn is notorious for letting these apps get good and then crushing them like grapes. But it's a good app. So does anybody besides me use this? Would you use this, Nick? Do you teach your attorneys to prospect at all? Make some rain? It happen?
I might use this. I need to look into this more. This looks like something I have some interest in using. I like this.
Cool. Jess, are you using this at all?
I first discovered this when preparing for the show, so I have not used it a lot, and I have to tell you, it looks cool.
Yeah, it is.
What does it do, by the way? What does it do? Let's tell everybody what it does.
So it fills in the sidebar. So think about how on the right side of your G Suite or Gmail account, it has advertising, and most of us have probably some plugin. It used to be I would use Rapportive. Rapportive got bought by LinkedIn, so that's gone. Now I have Sales Navigator through LinkedIn and Nimble. So this would be another one on the top. And what it does is it uncovers email addresses and things like that through what people have submitted. So if the 4 of us, right, if we're prospecting and we find someone's email address and we add it to their contact record, then it would make it visible for other people to see that email address, which is pretty cool. Or it might do a search out, depending on how it's set up. I can't tell you exactly how it's doing this now, but I've seen at times where it'll actually spider out to the web and try to make a best guess based on email address as well, which is, it's pretty cool. So it's a sales prospecting tool and outreach prospecting tool. I still say you still need LinkedIn, you still need Twitter, you still need Facebook, because you need to give your conversations some context. but it unearths that email address so you don't have to spend an in-mail, which that's why I think LinkedIn's going to kill it too, because in-mail is why people buy Sales Navigator and Premium LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
but it's a great tool.
And I mean, the other thing you can do, you're browsing, for instance, something on the web, for instance, you can also then get access. You can quickly see that person's, social media channels, see their connections, for instance, that sort of thing as well. This way, you don't have to have, we all probably suffer from this, too many tabs open. Tab browsing is fantastic, but sometimes just, you get one and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I've got 50, and then your computer starts running really slow. So it does help you optimize a little bit as well, being able to see, your Facebook information, your Twitter information, but as you mentioned, some prospecting tools as well. So you get access to all that without having to really leave the tab you're on. So keep that in mind. But yeah, free tool.
Yep. Free tool. Woo! So cool. So holy crap, we covered a ton of stuff in 65 minutes. Just if people want to get connected with you, because you are freaking awesome. We loved having you on. Love your energy and your insight. Tell us, how would people do that? What's your favorite place for people to come connect with you?
Oh, man. Well, the stalking part's easy. The connecting part's a little harder. And I challenge you to reach out and say hello, because it's easy to just look around and see and whatever you do out there. But say hi. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you loved about these guys and why you come back every week. And I promise not to tell them. No, I'm just kidding. We would definitely pass that right along. Twitter's always great, @Jess_Duell. And then definitely my personal website, jessicaduell.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. And Nick, it's been years since we've seen you, buddy. Remind everybody how they can get connected with you and do some stalking with you if they want to connect with you.
Connect with me, yeah, and date me. That's great. Both are acceptable. Nick J. Rishwain on Twitter is probably the best, or you can find me through Christian on this on social shops.
Cool. And next week I'm moving, so I'm not even going to have the internet next week. So Christian, you're going to be running the show here. What the heck is going on next week, buddy?
So next week we're going to have Mike Gingrich is going to fill in for co-host, and we're going to have Rachel Moore on.
Was I raised that roof?
Yeah.
Rachel's a big video advocate, a big BeLiver as well. So good to have her back on the show. I think we've had her on, right?
Yep. Yeah. She's great.
She's another Colorado gal, Jess.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She's in Denver.
I think she's a Denver gal. Yeah.
Yep,
that is
she's in
so
Denver.
far away. It's like 40 minutes. Come on.
Oh yeah, you Coloradans. So yeah, with your medical marijuana though, that's like 3 weeks, right? Is that how long that is, or what?
Well, it's more than medical now. It's just legal.
Oh, it's just legal. No wonder everybody goes there. Doggone it. That's fun. So cool.
Thanks
well,
so
Rachel's
much,
great.
everybody.
Yeah, their show. Just so everybody knows, her and our buddy. Oh my gosh, why can I not? I see his smiling face at Ross Brand. They just got picked up by Facebook as a partner. So if you're
nice.
For Best of Be Live, so definitely check them out as well if you're, to do your homework for next week. Because I can tell you, Jess, you are awesome. Nick, you're great. Christian, you always rock the show. And next week, holy crap, Gingrich and Rachel Moore, my goodness. I feel sad that I'm missing out, so I'll definitely have to watch the replay.
Definitely. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Again, if you want to get the replay, we have a couple more topics we didn't get to tonight. Again, it was a lot of Facebook this week. But head to socialchefs.com/daily. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you so much for being on tonight. I will say I love all the energy you bring and all the insight. Thank you very much. Nick and Phil, thank you again for filling in as co-host. I'm gonna recycle a joke there.
Yeah. Thanks for being Sister Christian there, Night Ranger. We appreciate you too.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you all next week, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.